Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Zwift South African National Championships. We're out on Watopia again for 3 laps and 2 laps, respectively, for the men's and the women's races for the National Championships for South Africa. Today we've been awarding for the fastest men and women National Championship kits for 1 year straight for South Africa. So, Jonathan Noble's with me today, coming out of Edinburgh. Johnny, good to have you here this morning. And we've got about 6 minutes to go to the start of the race. And looks like we've got about 20 riders hanging out in the men's pens. We've got, a few women signed up. We'll see how we can get on with it. But, Johnny, looks to be a pretty fast and challenging race. We saw some intense racing for New Zealand and as well as Australia, and this may be a little bit different kind of race though, with a little bit smaller field.
Yeah, no, definitely. With Australia, we had that big bunch of 50 riders hitting the climb for the first time. So it's definitely the big packs bring some big speeds and sometimes quite a lot of attacking. So I think for the South Africa race with little smaller groups, we have to be a bit more tactical, like choose your decisions when you want to attack. Maybe hold on the back, save some power. So I think it might become a bit more a tactical race, which could be as equally exciting as we see those mass riders heading up the climb, Nathan.
Yeah, I think so. I think the idea of a tactical race, a race that has a little bit more attacks in it, where people aren't quite as scared to try and get away. We are seeing quite a few popular names. One that I would say may be a favorite out there that I'll be watching out for is going to be Jeffrey Creel. I wasn't expecting Creel actually to be in this race. He's usually racing down under, but looks like he does have a license out of South Africa, so pretty cool to see. Let's go ahead and take a quick look though at the course that the riders are going to be taking on today. As of course, as usual, they are going to be starting out on the Watopia Volcano Climb course, as we saw earlier. The pens is going to be where the usual super fast cyclocross type start that they are going to be taking on. Riders are going to have to ramp up 10, 12 watts per kilogram right from the get-go to start out fast enough to make sure they make the lead group as they do make their way over toward the underwater Ocean Boulevard. This is where things are really going to figure out what group you are going to be sitting in right from the get-go after that fast start. Under Ocean Boulevard, things will calm down most likely as people start to look at each other and wonder who is who. Leaving Ocean Boulevard, little 3% gradient after they go underneath that Jarvis tree, leaving the underground into the marina area. Then you may see a couple of attacks, and a lot of times we do see people trying to get away right here, but they usually get caught through the S-turns that we were just looking at there. As they go past the Scotty Fountain, they start to see the volcano off in the distance. Usually group will compactor at this point because they know the volcano climb is coming. They're looking at about a 6 to 7 minute climb for the men, about 7 to 8 minutes for the women. And this is where things are really going to start to break up. People will be saving all of their matches, most likely for the climb. A lot of times this is where the race is either won or lost, except for those who can make it up over the top for a lead group and head in toward the sprint. So lots of climbing on the day. Let's all go ahead and take a quick little look also at the course info, as we just saw the video there of the actual course. But the course info and the details, here's the stats. 3 laps for the men, 42.6 miles, 68.4 kilometers. Total elevation is going to be 2,007 feet or 612 meters. For the women, it's going to be 2 laps, 28.4 miles, 45.6 kilometers, and the total elevation 1,338 or 408 meters. So 432 feet climb every lap out on the volcano course. So riders are hanging out in the pens right now, about 220 or so to go to the start for the men. For the women, it looks like 7:16 to the start of the women's race. Does look like we do have quite a few hanging out in the chat here. 35 racers getting ready to go. Let's also, Johnny, power-ups are allowed at all times during these races,
Yep,
if I'm not incorrect.
all power-ups. Yeah, all power-ups are allowed. There's some quite interesting power-ups in there as well. So there's a few that we don't want to have, but there's also 3 that we do definitely want these riders to be able could get to help the race along.
Yeah, I think the riders most likely were out there trying to gain a few power-ups prior to the start of the race. At least the experienced riders most likely were out there trying to get a hold of a few of these. So real quick, for those who aren't familiar with the power-ups that are in the game, the small bonus power-up goes ahead and gives you 15 experience. Not really needed during racing, but it does open up new kit as you get new levels. The experience that you do gain does get you more levels. Also seen with the large bonus there, 250 experience. Again, cool to get when you're trying to level up, but you're usually smashing the keyboard if you're getting that on your way into a big sprint. Aero power up increases your aerodynamics for 30 seconds. Strongest power up out there. Draft boost, 30-second draft increase could counter an aero power up or any kind of an attack, as well as the lightweight or featherweight power up there out there. 15-second reduce in weight. You're looking to attack during a climb, that's the best one to have for sure. If you do want to interact with the broadcast, you can do so. We are seeing a couple coming on in already with a couple of comments actually over in the broadcast over on Facebook. Keith Leonard saying, good luck, Jeff Creel. If you do want to give good luck to anybody, do you want to have any questions or comments, you want to interact with the broadcast with stuff that is content for the broadcast, you can go ahead and comment over them. We can bring them right on in. And when are we going to get a nerf the aero boost 10 to 8 to 10 seconds? Eugene Chan is actually saying, which is a great question. The power-ups are definitely a point that people like to chat about a lot, about how they could work and how people think they should work. So that's a good question. I'm not sure that that's ever going to happen. The nerf the power up is maybe a new hashtag that Eugene wants to have. But we are out on course now. Riders are starting their initial ramp up here off of the piers, and we are seeing Zaza from Innovation right along with B Mountain there following right on up. So it is going to be that orange numbers right from the get-go as usual. Then we are seeing, it looks like Munton here, 9.0 watts per kilogram, 186 beats per minute. Already the heart rate's super high. Zaza here up into 8.7 watts per kilogram. Crown is there as well. Barnes, and then it will be Vantioli and Kreb here riding for Xert actually, which is interesting to see as Xert, as we did have the founder on our weekly wind-up here. So interesting to see a rider in the game right now who is actually riding for them in-game. We're also seeing Creel there able to make that front group, and Munton 1 second back now after being on the initial attack. So interesting to see that he was so incredibly involved in that initial kick into the 9-10 watts per kilogram, leading things out, but then find himself a little bit off the back right from the get-go. We'll see if he can hold on here. As we said earlier, this is where the initial groups will start to form. As we are looking down from the helicopter view here, we are seeing a couple off the back right off the bat here. So about, I would say, 13 riders or so looking to make the front group. Actually, 19 riders, as we're seeing right now. There is Jeffrey Creel. We have been naming him as one of the favorites out today. We'll have to see who else has shown up as a favorite. As not super familiar with a ton of the riders here, as we definitely are going to be looking to see if we can find some of that information over on ZwiftPower.com. Do you see the llama jumping in here? Good to see him. As he says, boom, we're on megawatts early on. I'm hurting just watching. Good to see you, Shane. And Shane was with us earlier today for the Australian National Championships. So good to see Shane hanging out in the race broadcast. And Johnny, it looks like he's showing us also how to get things done on social media.
Yep, yeah, definitely. Yeah, giving a little, getting people trying to get you involved. You know, show us what you're up to. You know, if you're watching, let us know that you're watching. Maybe shows your watching setup. You know, if you're riding, shows your Zwift setup. So we want to hear from you.
What is this setup, Johnny?
Photos.
What are we looking at right here? What is this? This is the broadcaster setup.
This is like the mess setup. Yeah, no, so just got a couple iOS devices there to watch the broadcast. Yeah, so it's a little bit everything piled on top of each other, but yeah, gets the job done for now anyway. Gets the job done.
Yeah, so if you do want to interact, do like Johnny did. Do like Johnny. Hashtag Zwift Nationals. Hashtag Zwift Nationals, and you'll be able to jump into the broadcast right along with us. But then you get pictures of your Zwift setup, your stream setup, however you're doing things in real life. You can go ahead and bring them right on in. So Looking through, though, let's go ahead and see what's happening with the start of this men's race. As we said, in the underground here, it is a little bit more chill. It does tend up to be a situation where it's Grupo Compacto after the initial group does get formed. About 24 seconds back will be Marius here, it looks like, and Duplessis here. Actually, no, a little bit more than 26 back from the main group, just falling off immediately. So this will be a chase group. It will be W. Gronewald here as well as Wessels, and then Van Bilgen. Lloyd is there as well, and Sebastiani is in here coming out of Italy, maybe just in support of a few riders in the race here. Now, there might be some questions from individuals out there saying, hey, how come riders from other countries can join, Johnny? So anybody can join the race, but it's only open to those who are from South Africa that are able to actually participate in the results. Or how does that work, Johnny?
Yeah, so like we had the February nationals for the Northern Hemisphere countries. We had 14 countries in February, and we had a set of rules there. We started off with. Now the rules have changed slightly. More to kind of, it makes it, some more requirements to be eligible, but I think they're fair requirements. So, people we might see racing like Jeffrey Creel, we usually see him with an Australian flag, but he's actually a South African-born rider, and he holds a South African National Cycling Federation race license, and that's one of the new requirements that have been added. And one of the reasons for this is it just adds a way to verify potential winners, their identity, and make sure that they are in the right kind of category that it should be in. So it helps us to kind of get that validation. So as well with having open Strava, being registered on Zwift Power, having a heart rate monitor, having a race license, and being born from that country, those are sort of requirements that we need today. And those are sort of ones that we see. We saw a lot of the riders had in New Zealand and Australia and today in South Africa. And there's actually a new edition on Zwift.com. You can actually add in your race license. So these sort of like validations, and they will probably see a lot more as we see like cycling and Zwift like grow more as this kind of esport as such out on Zwift, as we start to see a lot more of these races happen.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole idea of holding that national federation or that governing body for cycling license, I think, is a great way to get some validation around who the riders are, what kind of setups they got going on. I mean, if you are going to start having racing with any kind of prizes in there, having some sort of verification in real life is great, and having the work already done by the National Federation, simply putting the license in, does help out a lot. So we do see Zasa here trying to get away along with Jay Barnes. Doesn't look like it's going to go much of anywhere. As usual, every time that we do leave that underground, we tend to see on Ocean Boulevard an attack into the marina. Looking through here now for the women's race, though, they are getting going, and we are seeing the usual attacks now. Good to see. We've got about, looks like 7 women hanging out in the race here. It is going to be Conradi, followed up by, looks like 100% South African girl. A Muller is in there, as well as Owens hanging out for the race here. So it's actually 5 getting away. We've got a couple of streaming avatars out there. So 5 women in the race out there today, but all Grupo Compacto. Might be interesting if they are fairly even in their abilities out there today. We'll see if we do in the women's racing, though. Earlier today, we did see some early attacks that end up being solo off the front for a while. We did see Penny Pawson as well as Vicky Whitelaw, both breaking away very early and holding on for those national championship provisional results for the win on the day. So we'll have to see if it's similar. It does look like these women aren't having too much trouble, though. Hanging out Grupo Compact here. A. Miller there at 155. We're also seeing Owens there, 159 beats per minute. Weber's in there at 171. Maybe a little bit of spot of bother for her there. Let's see how long she can hang on at that 171. Maybe beats a little bit like a butterfly, though. We'll have to see. 143 for 100% South African girl. So good to see 143 fairly chill on the heart rate. 175 there coming from E. Conradi. So we'll see how things do work out as they make their way under the underground. All Grupo Compacto for sure for them at this point. A couple of comments coming through here. Lots of people cheering for Jeff. I believe it is Creel out there. We are seeing Roll On Jeff. I mean, he's got this whole fan club, it looks like, hanging out in I think he told everybody in his feed and Facebook groups, hey, I'm racing for the national championships and I'm gonna win this thing out on Zwift today. So pretty cool to see all the people have shown up specifically for the race out here today to cheer on Jeff. So question coming from Quentin LaFay, which is interesting. So Quentin, longtime racer and director sportif in the car, I believe, for Vision Cycling tonight, probably in Creel's ear actually, and he's saying, question: if I'm French, was born in France but live in the UK and hold an English racing license, I can't compete in the national championship. Yes, huh? So, what's going on, Johnny? I believe it's wherever your race license is at the time. That's where it's at. I'm almost positive that that's how it works, but because you do require to have a race license for wherever you are going to be racing. So I would, if the requirement is that the race license is for the federation that you hold one or the governing body that you hold one with, that's most likely where you need to register for and race for.
Yeah, no, it's where you hold your race license. So you may live in a different country, you may work in a different country, but if you've got a race license in that country, you're valid for that championship. You know, we see riders who, you know, they might have, you know, they might live in a country, but they might identify with the country that they're born with more. You know, not fully native. Like, you know, Jeffrey, you know, he lives in Australia, but he's actually from South Africa. So because he's got a South African race license, he's fully eligible, assuming all the other requirements are fulfilled, he's eligible to place in this race.
Yep, 100%. So makes sense. Thanks a lot for the question there, Quentin. Makes a lot of sense there, but the verification comes through from the license specifically. So hold a license for your country you're born in, good to go. If you hold a license for the country you currently reside in, well, that's where you're good to go as well. Jay DeVillers here now on the front. It looks like you're 164 beats per minute. Again, it is Grupo Compactor. They're going to be looking forward toward that climb. Still about 17 riders, it looks like, here on the front, and everybody looking at each other, holding hands at this point. I don't think it's going to be any kind of serious attack. So as we are waiting for things to start to heat up out here, let's go ahead and start taking a look at who the riders are that we are seeing that have made this lead group. Gene DeVillers here, looking like a rider who has about 33 races out on Zwift. Not a whole ton of races, usually racing in the B category actually. So we're going to see if he can hold on up and over the top of the climb. The highest that we've seen from him for the averages throughout the races is right around 4.0 watts per kilogram. So going to be a difficult day, I think, once it starts getting uphill. You know, as far as the riders who are winning these national championships, usually riders who can hold a solid 4 to 5 watts per kilogram. Definitely A category type riders, I would think there, Johnny.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've got some information about like Gene DeVilliers here as well on the screen. So we can see we've got pulled in some information from Zwift Power. So Gene DeVillers is a 36-year-old rider coming out of South Africa, and we've got some good stats here so we can actually compare some of these riders. So we see on the segment performance, we've picked out the volcano climb because obviously the riders are going to be doing that in the race today. And we've also to get an idea of their sprinting ability. Now, because there's no sprint segment on this course, because they actually turn left down towards the volcano before they head through the sprint segment in the Italian village, we've chosen as forward sprint because it gives a good indication of that like last minute finishing speed. That's sort of kind of 1 minute, like half a minute to 1 minute kind of power efforts. So Gene DeVillers here, 7 minutes at the volcano climb, an average power of 380 watts and 25 seconds on the sprint. Some pretty decent times. Anything under, I'd say, like, you know, for me, for a slow rider, I would say anything under kind of 8 minutes on the volcano climb is a good time. And around that 7 minutes is a good race time as well. As you saw, like, I think what was the fastest time we saw, Nathan? Was it 5 minutes 45? Yesterday?
6. I believe it was right around the 6 flat marks. I mean, 6 minutes is
6 flat.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely killing it. You know, some of the fastest times we saw moving into the race in the stats were right around that 640 or so. Now, being a national championship, it seemed to really egg some of these riders on. And in the Australian race, for the men's race, on the second lap, that was the fastest one we'd seen all day by far. I think it was right around a 604, 603 or something like that. It was those low 6 minutes. Absolutely just killing it out there. So it'll be interesting to see if they break those numbers here in the South African race here. Who can set the fastest time for the national championships here for the Southern Hemisphere? It'll be interesting to see if these riders are able to break that 6 minute mark. I think it would have to be an all in, what do you got attack, and actually maybe even abandonment, letting the race go and not reserving anything. Like one of those efforts where it's like, I just want the fastest time on the day. I don't care about winning, because I think if you do a sub 6 out there on that, it's kind of a situation where you're just done for the rest of the day. So we'll see how that ends up playing out here, though. We definitely have it. Looks like Jeffrey Creel up though on the stats here. Let's go ahead and see what that's all about.
Yeah, we're talking about, like, race times around 6. Like, Jeffrey Keel's fastest time is 6 minutes 20. Now, I think he could probably go a lot faster than that. We don't see many races up the volcano climbs, so this could be why we're starting to see a lot more kind of personal bests from these riders. So Jeffrey, definitely got a lot of power there. We can actually look at his power performance as well. So we see that his 1 minute power of 575, 5 minute power of 380. So he managed to do 367 for that 6 minute effort. So 380 for 5 minute. He's not going to go sub 5 minute, no chance on that climb. We've not seen anyone do that, but I think he could push below 6 minutes. But like you say, that sort of effort at any point in the climb, whether you do it earlier on or at the end, is probably going to ruin your race. But maybe next time we do, events like these, we should have some kind of awards for fastest climb, have like the King of the Mountains, not just the general classification or the stage winner. It'd be great to have some other elements. Out on Zwift, because we do have the different sprints and the KOMs, so maybe we can try and bring in a few more titles as well in the future.
I think that's a great idea. We are seeing James Hodges come in from Zwift Power saying Zach Johnson, who is one of the strong riders in the Australian race, saying that he set the verified volcano climb record at 5:49 earlier. So it definitely is possible. To throw down a sub 6 minute. But Zach, like we were saying, most likely sacrificed his race to get that done. Now, he was looking to try and take the W by doing so, by throwing down like that. So we'll have to see if we get any other riders like that trying to, just set the fastest time on the day, maybe trying to break the 5:49. It does look like the men are starting to climb up over the top now. Johnny, we do have you on social media integration, actually, on your camera, just so you know. Looks like a refeed of mine, perhaps. And then looking through a few more of the race going on here for the women's race still. And it does look like they're all together for a group of 3 at this point. Conradi is here right along with Moeller, and it will be Weber. S. Owens here, 13 seconds back at this point. Go for it. You can do this. South African girl, 100% South African girl. Looks like riding for Stride and P1 Duel here, giving a little bit of encouragement to the rest of the riders. And it looks like Owens just a little ways back, so it will be a group of 3 that are getting away now. 155 beat sprinter coming from Muller. Conradi here now, 171. G. Weber at 174 or so. So we'll see if these 3 women are able to work together and increase their lead. I believe Owens there, 15, 16 seconds back, is going to be out in solo TT mode for the rest of the race. Where do we have any stats here on these ladies, though? As I'm completely unfamiliar with them in the world of Zwift racing.
Yeah, I'll try and pull some up, but I also do that. Like Nathan Siller, these 3 riders here, it's a small group. They're just 3 of them together. Usually be in situations like this in mountain bike racing where, you're not in a pack. The drafting is limited, and there's 3 of you just together. What sort of kind of race tactics would these riders look to employ? do they want to stick together and go to the final sprints? Does maybe one of them want to make a breakaway early? Like, if you're in a situation like, and you were coaching these like ladies racing, like what would you be kind of expecting one of them to do to actually kind of get the win?
So in this kind of a situation, the vulnerability of the riders that are around you becomes the less riders there are, the more vulnerable each rider becomes, because there's less riders to use and work with in order to bring back any attacks. So your chances go up for being able to roll the dice, and the more chances that you take on those chances, the better the better the outcome is going to be in the long run. So I would be looking at this point with only 2 other riders to race against. I would be looking to roll the dice as often as I possibly could and trying to break the other riders around me. The only thing that really would come in at that point is if you become too much of an aggressor, the other riders might be like, okay, they're willing to do a lot of work. Let's just use them. And if they start doing a lot less work than me and they just start sitting on after each and every attack, then you start kind of have to be a little bit more savvy. But if the other riders start working with you to try and break whoever cannot hang on to the attacks, right? Because essentially what's going to end up happening is you're going to attack, they're going to follow, they're going to attack, you're going to follow, and eventually you're just almost working together to not work together. You're working together to see who out of you is not going to be hanging on any longer. So you're essentially just looking at each other, trying to figure out who's not going to be here throughout for the long run. So, rolling the dice more often, the more vulnerable the riders around you become as you lose more riders. So I would be looking to get away earlier than later. Somewhere going into the last lap, being about a 30-minute lap or so, I would definitely be wanting to be right around through the start finish all the way up into the final climb. That's what I'd be looking for to get away. I would not want it to come to a sprint because the chances are much lower if you are not alone. So that's what I'd be looking for.
Okay, so maybe get away early and then basically hold an individual time trial for the whole lap. I guess
chances are best if there's nobody else there, right?
Yeah, and I guess because of like the dynamics on Zwift with like the drafting, do you think that's something that they could do? They could break that because I'm watching. I think there's 3 riders here. The drafting can't be that much. So if one of them gets 5 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, maybe 5-second gap, then surely if they can hold that power, the others won't come back. If they can keep that kind of gap out constant and feel comfortable, then that's.
You better be comfortable with it though too. That's the thing. Like, if somebody's that close for the entirety of the race and they're just right there, I mean, that's a very difficult situation at the same time, too. So you got to be pretty confident being able to hold the power that you need to stay away. We actually do have an attack on the men's race here real quick, and then we'll come into those stats, actually. But in the men's race, we do see Jay Barnes here with 7 watts per kilogram trying to get away. 516 watts or so, so 174 beats per minute. Does have a 4-second gap. Zaza following it up there real quickly. Will be craved here from Exert trying to follow that. Piper is in there. It looks like somebody was chatting in the somebody was chatting a little bit over on the Facebook saying, okay, it's, hyping up the fact that Piper was in here. So maybe in a little bit we'll take a look at those stats on Piper. But this is the current situation. Villers is off the back. We were calling that a little bit earlier. Perhaps not be able to hang on to the pace here. First one to bite the dust will be Van Coley. But let's go ahead and take a quick look. It looks like you got a couple of stats there coming in for Angelique Mueller.
Yeah, so Angelique Mueller, one of the 3 riders in the front. So she's 36 years of age. Her race average power so far has been 182 watts and a current heart rate 156. So we'll try and pull out, see what her actual peak heart rate is. We can get a bit more information about how she might be feeling. But we see some of her segment performance here now, 8 minutes 50 over the volcano climb with an average power of 197. So, it's a good time up there. And if we compare that to this other rider here, let's bring over Gabrielle Weber, 31 years of age. So they've both got similar weights, similar heights. They've also got a similar heart rate as well. Now, the segment performance on the climb is 10:32 for Gabriella. Now, I also have to see how these 2 riders then perform at this climb because, assuming, Gabriella's maybe gone up there in a race or group ride and not done a full effort, because we did have the elite tour series recently on Zwift and a few other tour series which have used this ride, and I'll also pull in this sort of segment data. So you know, I think the race performance, if Angelique can go there at 8 minutes 50, I would say probably the race performance maybe looking at about 8 minutes 30, 8 minutes 20 for a race time of like climb today. So I think that's the sort of thing we'll be looking for from these riders of the climb today, Nathan.
Yeah, we are seeing, speaking of the climb here, the men are just coming up over the top, actually, and it does look like Barnes already has a 17-second gap over the top, so we'll have to see if they can close that down. Lots of people over in the chat, they're cheering on Jeffrey Creel as they make their way over the top of the first climb, but they're going to have to work cut out for him as Barnes is absolutely killing it off the front here. Now, this may not, we'll have to, I'm not familiar with the rider here, but does have a Tron bike, so definitely has done plenty of riding out on Zwift. Also has, it looks like, a few times up and over the top of the Alp to Zwift. So he is hanging out with that laser helmet at this point. So showing off the gear in the old school Zwift kit here too. So this is interesting to see. Jay Barnes, watching out for this rider, and it looks like you do have some stats on him. Who is this off the front here?
So we've got James Barnes, a 28-year-old rider from South Africa. So I'll try and pull up some of his previous races as well, because I've just got some just his normal stats. So let's have a look at some of the races that he's done. He does a lot of WBR races. They're a good time of day in the morning. Does a lot of like 1 lap, 3 lap classic. He seems to favour the classic course. He recently did a WBR 5 lap volcano circuit one, but I don't see anything in here with the volcano climb. So we don't have a comparison. I'll see if I can bring up a. But he does have quite a lot of wins, though, Nathan. He's got, looking at his, he's got a total of 17 races, and I'd say about 9 of those are actually wins. The rest are second place or third place races. So either select some great races, or is definitely someone to watch out for. But yeah, 7 minutes 3 seconds of the climb. Let's have a look at his actual peak power. So his 1 minute peak power is 6:46, and that's higher than Jeffrey Creel's. So in a sprint, that's sort of thing I'll be looking for. And 300 watts for a 20-minute power, actually quite a light rider. So he's got a very good FTP as well there. So if he can get a bit of a gap, he might be able to hold that for some distance as well.
About 300 watts for 20 minutes. We'll have to see if he can hold on here. You know, hanging around that 68, 69 kilograms. We'll see if he can hold on to this. I have a feeling that perhaps it's an attack off the front here, and the other riders are kind of watching this going, I'm not sure it's going to stay away. These are good results that we're seeing, but he's been racing, it looks like, since back in 2017. It looks like February 25th, 2017, the Z Originals was his first race there. And races on and off ever since, but we aren't seeing any of the big hitter races, KISS races, or the CVR races for some of that higher end racing. We're seeing about 4.2 watts per kilogram average for the fastest. We'll have to see if Barnes is able to hang on against some of the bigger hitters. I have a feeling some of them are watching and seeing what he might got there, but I think they were letting him dangle out the front there just a little bit. We'll see. Perhaps he's showing up though with the extra special effort out there today, but A. Stein along with Zaza shut it right on down and getting right back up toward the front. But he did pull the fastest time on the day in this race, at least, for the volcano climb there, 6:37.7. Our Piper there with the 6:48, and will be Zaza with 6:49.
James is actually in chat. He says he can't do KISS races because it's during work. So this is maybe why we don't see him as often in some of these like mainstream races. So James actually giving a bit of a chat on Facebook as well as we're racing. So yeah, no, it's good to see these riders. Maybe where we don't have the information and these riders have a little bit of rest on the downhill.
He's watching us closely. Well. He says he's watching us closely. I think we're watching you closer. Just so you know, James. Just kidding. And shout out to James hanging out in the broadcast here, and no spoilers for the Australian and New Zealand, and I was out last night and missed them. Actually, I was about to say who took the W's for the provisional results, so I guess there's a rule now, no spoilers, so we'll try and keep things quiet now. We'll try and keep things quiet. Go back to the broadcast.
24 hours to let people let's go back and watch the broadcast, and we can start to chat about it. But no, Luke, yeah, go and check it out. The Australian both races were actually brilliant races. Some interesting like attacks as well. So it was great to see, and hopefully we'll see a lot more out of that. As we'll try and get a bit more information about some of these riders in South Africa and everything. It's like it's we've got to admit it's not not a group of riders that we are fully familiar with. It must be a time zone or type of events. So we'll try and get a little bit more about these riders too.
Jeffrey Creel just sent me a message in Facebook, and I have no idea what it is. That needs to get tweeted out, though. Whatever that is, Jeffrey, please tweet that out because it looks fairly important to what is happening currently in the race right now. So, Jeffrey, make sure to use hashtag Zwift National. Send it to somebody if you can, maybe to Quinton or somebody else out there. Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it because I have no clue what is going on there, but I appreciate the photo coming on through. It looks like it's a podium actually for South Africa, and perhaps has a few of the riders that we are currently looking at in game. It does look like it is Van Heerden here, maybe off the back though, which is interesting to see, as I did see something about that rider in the picture here, so we'll have to see if that's what's happening here. Looking at the front, though, it is going to be M. Craig here now riding for Zerp. It does look a couple did fall off. It is Jay DeVillers there, as we said earlier, maybe unable to hang on. Barnes is there still, it looks like, hanging out at the back, 137 beats per minute. Pretty chill for him. We're heading into lap 2 here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with the women's race, though, as they are making their way to the top of the climb now. And it does look like for the women's race, they were able to drop off Angelique there just a moment ago. So Angelique Mueller here, about 13 seconds back. Can never work it out for to bring those girls back. So it does look like 13 seconds up. We're going to have a head-to-head battle going into the final lap after this climb if they can both hang on to each other's wheels. So the attacks did take place that we were talking about earlier, and it will be Conradi as well as Weber here. 184 beats per minute, though. 4.5 watts per kilogram. Does look like she's turning the screws just a little bit, trying to see if she can hang on. 2-meter gap now at this point, though. Weber there, 4.8, 4.2 watts per kilogram. 180 beats per minute coming from Weber now out of South Africa. So hanging on to that wheel now, looking for that national championship kit for South Africa. Kicks up in that 5.6 watts per kilogram. Does respond very quickly. And the question is, where do they max out for their heart rates, though? Amongst these riders, is that's going to tell us a lot about whether or not Angela and Gabrielle are really pushing at this point, or just kind of watching each other, waiting in for the right time to attack. The max heart rate that we have seen from Angela is around 181 beats per minute. Looking through for Gabrielle, we are not seeing a max heart rate from her ever, actually, so unsure. And maybe that was kind of smart on her point, never to wear a heart rate monitor in the past, so that nobody can really know exactly where she might max out, actually. So it does look like this might be one of the first times she's worn a heart rate monitor specifically for the national championship here for Gabrielle. So Gabrielle here now, 181 beats per minute. She's making her way up and over the top, turning the screws a little bit over the top, maybe seeing that she can get a gap now. 6.4 watts per kilogram. Actually, this looks to be a little bit of a battle all the way to the top, which is very cool to see here. Conradi here now trying to hang on, a little bit of a gap, and she will jump on there, though. 188 beats per minute, though, and a 7:54 is going to be the time over the top. It does look like those are the fastest times that these ladies have ever had over the top of the climb. Both of them setting a new PR. So definitely pushing themselves to the limits today, Johnny, over the top for these women.
No, definitely. We think we said, we'd be pushing a quicker time, but it's 7. I went with 8 minutes. That's like 8 minutes 20, 8 minutes 30. So they went quicker than that. So no, definitely. And this is the women go over this climb. Is that twice, Nathan? The women doing 2 laps and the men's doing 3 laps today. So they're almost halfway through the race. The women today.
Yeah, about halfway through, just about, and we are getting some comments coming through here from Shane Miller. He doesn't like the crickets out on Zwift here. We'll try and bring the crickets down for you there, Llama. I'll see what we can get done out on course, and definitely the crickets are a little bit loud. Now, at the same time, we want a little bit of ambience, I think, not just complete silence. But good to see Llama in here. Nathan here, Dino Van.
I think Eugene Chan won that.
Eugene Chan won that. Final bug report. Yep, we're on it. So we're looking through here and we're seeing that Quinton is letting us know that Dino Van Heerden, Masters World Champion from 2016. All right, gotcha. Very cool information there. So. Shane Miller's also let everybody know, as far as no spoilers goes, it was an Australian who won the Australian National Championship, just so you know. So for those of you who might be wondering, it was an Australian. We've narrowed it down just a little bit for all of you there. So looking through for the men's race again, though, it does look like still Grupo Compacto. Nobody's been able to, and I think, these riders are definitely playing it pretty savvy at this point, Johnny. Nobody really wanting to show their cards. It's going to be, I think, maybe, coming up out of the underground here, out through the Ocean Boulevard, we might see an attack actually at that point. I think the riders might be getting a little bit antsy and try and test the legs, but Jeffrey Creel here, I think is going to be playing things very, very disciplined, knowing that the race is going to come down to some solid attacks. We were talking about it earlier. It's the rider who does the least amount of work out on the races a lot of times with the highest amount of power at the most opportune times is usually the rider that takes the W.
Yeah, well, I think, when you have those riders out there who have mastered the, I'm going to say it because it's coming to term now, mastered the Zwift craft, on course, with sitting in the draft, knowing when to put power down on corners, on climbs, and even on descents, those type of riders, definitely seem to be the ones that come on top. If you can sit at the back of the pack, Kim Little's a great example. He always sits nicely in the pack, doesn't show his face too much at the front, and then when it matters, that's when he puts down the power. Hopefully some of these riders have got some good Zwift craft in there as well today in this group, and they know when they need to go for the win.
I like that term there, Zwift craft, as it definitely does have its own way of racing, that's for sure. Now, we are seeing a couple of people come on through with a lot of cheering, actually. Shane Miller saying win when it counts, but Anthony Porsche, who does ride for Vision, saying Creel for the win. Creel all the way from Cameron Roberts here. I mean, this guy's got the entirety. Is anybody else out there besides a Creel fan? Just wondering. Let us know, because this seems to be the Creel court here for sure. Shane Miller letting everybody know win when it counts. Got it. I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, I'm not sure Shane's too familiar with how that goes because he's just been riding TTs all of his life. So it's all power all day long, actually, from the Llama. But and we're glad to give you a couple tips out there, Shane. That's for sure. For those of you maybe just tuning in a couple of places that are unfamiliar with what Zwift racing is, we are seeing a couple of chatters coming in over on Mixer as well as Twitch. And so this is actual riders from in real life that are powering these avatars right now. We are seeing Real Watts in the upper left-hand corner right now. Zaza here from Innovation. Coming up, most of these riders most likely somewhere in South Africa right now, or maybe somewhere else in the world, but racing under the South African flag, looking to battle it out for the national championship jersey for 1 year straight. 165 beats per minute currently coming from him. That's actual heart rate from that rider in real life, powering these avatars forward right now. So remember, if you do have any questions or comments at any of those platforms, please let us know. We'll go ahead and answer them as quickly as we possibly can. You can tag me as well. I am in those chats as well. The best way to get my attention over there, I will hear it if you do tag me, especially over at the Mixer chat. We've got Dave Irma Creel saying go Joffers as well. Lee Durham in there as well. Go for Henlo Weber as well. Jay Barnes, working class man, one for the Aussies here. Benny Armstrong coming on through. So good to see a few more coming on in with a couple of others that isn't just Creel that has some cheering him on out there. If you do have any more interaction you want to bring in, not just through Facebook, you can take Johnny's example out there as well. Go ahead and send us some pictures of your Zwift setup if you would like so. Do we have, now this is a good question, and Johnny, maybe you can help answer this about what countries are getting national championships and why.
So in February we kicked off the national championships, and it was the 15 most basically highly subscribed countries in Zwift, and we made that very clear. That's what it was, top 15. So we had, a lot of the Europes. We had United Kingdom, France, Germany, and then we had also forgot all the European countries there, and we also had the Americas, Canada as well. So we had the top 15, and then we also waited for the Southern Hemisphere. We only had, I think it was Australia in, but then we added in South Africa and New Zealand as well. So you will expect to see more countries added, and we did say that we would add more countries for February for the Northern Hemisphere. So whereas before we said we had 15, we maybe have 20, maybe have 30 next year, and the national championships, become a lot bigger. It's going to be fun for us to do a broadcast of 30 countries, Nathan, if we do that.
Oh my gosh!
But 30 countries, eventually could be what we're looking for. So, if you are interested
30 countries in their own languages, their own broadcast. I mean, then you just take it off of the, I'm not okay. Well, maybe I am doing 30 countries over an entire month. I don't know how we're gonna get that done, Johnny, but we're gonna do it. Here we go. So that is not like the promised 30, but it's the most subscribers. Top 15 countries with subscribers in the Northern Hemisphere happened this past year. We will have that again coming for the Northern Hemisphere coming up in February 2019 as well. So for those of you that are wondering about why we're doing the Southern Hemisphere right now, because it's Zwift season for the Southern Hemisphere, and these would then be the countries who do have the higher, I would assume, subscribership for that hemisphere, Johnny?
Yep, that'd be right. Yeah, so there would be the southern ones like Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, the highest ones. I think for those who don't know, we've actually got a lot of people who work for us at Zwift from Brazil who do a lot of our work on our server. They're all based in Rio, because we've actually got an office in Rio, and I think they are pushing to try and get a Brazilian national championships for next year. So we're looking to add a lot more countries. So if you do want to see, if you're watching this and you're thinking like, I don't have my country, I don't have my nationals for Argentina. Why is that? Get out there racing. Chat to your friends about Zwift. Get them out on Zwift racing as well, and we can try and make these nationals a lot bigger, have a lot more countries added, and who knows, in a year's time, maybe more, maybe less, we might have a World Championships event where you race the nationals and you have your national champions, and then we have those national champions then go and represent their nation in a big world's event. Maybe we'll do some of that next, but we need more people out there racing and spreading the word, and watching the broadcast as well. So if you like what you see, get out, share the love among everyone else, and we can try and get these to be a lot bigger.
We are seeing Barnes here sharing a little bit of love through the legs right now, making it difficult for the other riders to hang on, as you do see Craig here, as well as Stein will be Creel trying to hang on, and it looks like Zaza right along with Barnes and Hans off the front. Craig there 1 second back, it looks like here. Munson able to jump back on Creel again, following the wheels. I think this one is looking for the W out there today with how savvy he is playing it right now. It does look like it's all going to be Grupo Compacto again. Hans at 0 watts per kilogram for a moment there. I think there's a dropout here coming from W. Hans. This is one of the worst times to get that, actually, because 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Look how quickly that goes out at 39 kilometers per hour currently. They're doing 55. To catch back up after that kind of a dropout is going to be almost impossible unless he is able to jump on the climb. That's where he's going to have to look for that time to make up there, but maybe it was just a full-on blow-up. We do see some watts per kilogram still coming from the legs there, so we'll have to wait and see what's happened with Hans, as he was way up in the heart rates there. So perhaps there was just a drop, maybe not a dropout, but was just like, I'm done pedaling. I got nothing left in the legs. So another one bites the dust off the back. In the dust, that is the ruins heading toward the volcano right now. So Zaza here, 4.0 watts per kilogram, sitting in for innovation. I think Zaza versus Creel might be one of the stories out there today. I think, though, James Barnes is definitely going to be wanting to show off out here today a little bit after a little bit of conversation around Barnes and his non-participation in the KISS races and CVR races here. So we'll see if Barnes does have what it takes. He did have the fastest time up from the top of the Volcano KOM here. Has been one of the most active riders, though, as Creel and a few of the others have sat in a little more. So legs drop out. There's Luis De Freitas is saying as well, World Team Championships, get a rainbow band on your team jersey. James Hodges is saying, says that he likes that idea a lot. So it does look like Sean Benton is tuning in as well. Attacks, here we come on the climb. Anthony Porsche is anticipating. So Stein, this is a name that I'm a little bit familiar with, actually. I've seen him out on the race course fairly often, I believe. I'm going to go ahead and take a look and see what kind of race results Stein has had in the past here, if I can find the A riders here. But A Stein, where is you got any stats there for us there on Stein? Let me know. Maybe not registered with zwiftpower.com, though. I've seen him out on course before, but I'm not seeing Stein registered here. Is that right?
No, I do have Stein here. I'll just double check. Yep, got some Stein stats here. So A Stein is Austin Stein, 48-year-old rider from South Africa. We see some performance stats about the rider there. So 6 minutes 50 up the climb, so a very respectable time up the climb there. And pulling in some power information. 1 minute power 524, 5 minute power 386, and 20-minute power 340. And if we try and have a look at A Stein on here, so races done 82 races, Nathan, in total registered on Zwift Power. A lot of WBR, as WBR seems to be they're very available races. A lot of them on. There's a lot of WBR races, some CVR races as well, and a lot of the tours. So a lot of the tours that Zwift do, like Tour of Rotopia, and the Elite Tour has done a lot of those as well. So yeah, a good experienced WBR racer with not many, a few wins, in there. A lot of top 10 places. So someone we definitely want to keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to pull out a special race out here today with top 10 races there. But we are seeing, and without a ton of wins, you got to have some wins on the belt, under the belt though, and amongst some of the faster riders though, if you're going to be able to pull off a national championship here. So we'll have to see if he can have a race outside of his skin here, but it does look like Munton was trying to get away here. 3.1 watts per kilogram from him, 180 beats per minute, but Munton being pulled back in here pretty quickly. See if there will be a counterattack as they do head on over toward their second time up and over the top of the volcano climb. Piper here, 3.4 watts per kilogram. Stein there, 2.6. Zaza sitting in. People of Pros here is there as well. Unfamiliar with this rider. It'd be interesting to see 149 beats per minute, because might be a couple of dark horses in here actually that we are not calling out. The names aren't just jumping off the page immediately here, but might be ones that could be in it for just the day. It's not, we don't see that very often though out on Zwift. Usually it's a rider who is savvy at Zwift racing, knows the ins and outs of it, and usually we do not have somebody just jumping in who is a strong rider in real life, but is able to just come in and grab that jersey. So we'll have to wait and see if we do have a situation like that.
Yeah, well, that's something that we've seen quite a lot. We saw it a lot in the February Nationals where, for the Northern Hemisphere, we had quite a lot of kind of continental and top level pro or athletes like come and race the titles. Like we had Lucy Charles racing for Great Britain in the females. We had Lionel Sanders for Canada in the males, and these riders, amazing power. They can put out some huge efforts as they need to in a full distance Ironman. But they don't have that. I'll say it again. We're going to have to get some little buzzwords pop up, Nathan, for the Zwift craft. They don't have that Zwift craft because they've not raced on Zwift that much, so we don't really know how to treat it. And like with many games, there is a level of skill within it to know how to get the most out of it. So when we see some top level pro riders come and race on Zwift, they maybe don't win and they get called. People sometimes they respond to like, there's a lot of pros on Zwift, a lot of pros on Zwift, never heard of. Well, yeah, they're pro Zwift racers. This is what they do. They race there all the time. So, they understand it well. It's like you can't just go from road racing and jump on a track bike and win track just because you're dominant on the road. It's a different style of cycling.
We are seeing a little bit of chatter coming on through specifically about some of these riders that are trying to build up some Zwift craft. That is Reese Piper. We're seeing that there's a little bit of chatter about a younger rider being out here mixing up with some of these riders out there. So Reese Piper, I'm looking through some of the stats here. 196 races out on Zwift. Has taken a win recently in the WBR one lap flat race. He actually did a 4th place in the KISS America's 100 kilometer race, one of the hardest races that you could do out on Zwift. 4th place in that race, 4.3 watts per kilogram for duration. I would be watching out for Reese Piper. Actually, this is a rider who might be able to pull off a W here. If he's doing 4.3 for the duration of a KISS America's, taking a 4th place in the KISS America's 100 kilometer race, that is a huge result. KISS Pacific, you're seeing 4.1 with a win back on July 25th. Took a win on April 29th this year in the KISS America's 100 kilometers. So Reese Piper, watch out for this rider for sure. So Reese Piper, I'm not seeing an age actually from what I'm looking at here over on ZwiftPower.com, but Piper here, I think, is going to be one to watch out for.
Yeah, Reese Piper, 24, so definitely a young rider. 24, quite light as well, 168 kilograms in weight, and quite a short rider as well. So definitely someone who, if he can sit in that draft, and can get a bit of rest and break away easily. But a 6 minute 49 up that climb. And some of his peak powers, looking at for a sprint effort, 5:43. So not a it's almost like I say not a huge amount of power for 1 minute, but it's actually it's actually quite high there for the races that he is going to be against today, and that is what actually really matters is how you compare against all the other races.
Well, I mean, at the weight that we're sitting at there, about 68, I think you said kilograms or so, 500 plus watts for 1 minute. That's a pretty serious effort there, especially out on Zwift and an indoor trainer there. I think 500 to 600 watts at that kind of a weight is going to be fairly respectable there. If he is up in the 370s for his 20-minute power, he is definitely throwing down into the elite to pro numbers for his FTP as well. So I'd be watching out for Reese for one of the riders to maybe take the W out here today. I think Creel's definitely be marking that man, and we are seeing Jay Meaton also being called out as perhaps a dark horse out there. So we have to watch out for him. And Shane Miller here coming through with a little bit of comment here, and I'd have to agree with him. This is a great comment actually coming on through. It would be fun to have crosswinds and steering, so we can put people in the gutter and attack. It would cause a little bit more tactics, I think, too, if that was there. And I have a feeling that perhaps this is on the minds of everybody who would want to see some things like that. That adds a whole lot more dynamics, that's for sure, into the world of racing. So hopefully down the line. And we are seeing Graham Brown also saying different in Zwift and in real life racing is that you'll rarely get attacks on the flats in Zwift. Most attacks are initiated by inclines. The drafting effect in Zwift is so strong. Also, it would be good if Zwift would introduce headwinds across from the race. Nathan, any thoughts? Yeah, 100% on with that. I think it would be pretty cool to be able to, even if we couldn't steer at this point, but if they could make it so that we could just push a button on the left or the right to move right or left as a crosswind, keep it pretty simplistic at the start and maybe make it more complicated as it goes along, but just be able to move left or right when there are any crosswinds and put people in the gutter a little bit would be kind of cool. So it'd be interesting to see if that could ever happen. It would definitely be an addition to the strategies that you could have in the game, that's for sure. And I think that's what, definitely something that people would be interested in there. So looking through a couple more of this, and Eugene Chen saying, I imagine 4.3 watts per kilogram in a 100-kilometer race mean he's going to get swallowed up in the final sprint, Eugene Chen is saying, speaking specifically about Reese. We'll have to wait and see. You know, it looks like he does have an okay sprint. We'll have to wait and see. Not always the case, but, you know, I think for myself, I think 4 to 4.3 is the best I've ever done in those 100K races, actually, and usually came down the sprint, was able to win 1 or 2 of those with a solid sprint there, but nothing like you, Eugene, though, as I think I've gone up against Eugene in a sprint or 2 as well, and perhaps we're thinking of different numbers when it comes to a solid sprint there, Eugene. So, but thanks a lot for the chatter there. So, looking through here, if for a couple more comments coming out, there doesn't look like anything. Let's make sure that we are checking in with the women. It is still 2 up, though, at this point for the women's race. It looks like, Johnny, are we still there? I think I did lose Johnny from the call. His sitting pretty still at this point, actually below me here. So we'll see if Johnny does reconnect to the call. Otherwise, we're going to have frozen Johnny for the duration of the race. We'll perhaps have to jump over. There he is. We got him back. Johnny is back with us here. He was frozen for a little while there. I don't know what happened. The cryogenics kicked in or something. He was just trying to reserve a little bit of his life for a little while longer, gained a couple extra minutes of life through sitting in the frozen cryogenic chamber there for just a moment. But thanks a lot for bringing back to here. So for the women's race, still Weber, and it looks like as well as Conradi here. And, you know, they're heading into their final time up on the top, and it's only 47 seconds back, actually, to the 100% South African girl. This is interesting. Muller's there as well. Yeah. This was out over a minute at one point. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they're easing up a bit, because maybe they're thinking, like, look, there's 2 of us together. We're going quite hard. We don't need to, you know, go full on. So maybe they're going to ease up and let the others get back, let them do a bit of the work, and then they can then go for the sprints, have a bit more effort. But you know, they're coming up to the base of the climb now, so they've only got about, I think, like 15 kilometers until the end of the race. So definitely, like, you know, I'm not sure, like, what would you do here, Nathan? Like, you know, would you ease up, or would you just be like, no, I'm going to go? Like, you know, maybe tell the other rider, oh, we should wait for these ones. You know, you drop off power a little bit and then just go straight past them.
Today's races have had some situations that I was extremely surprised by. You know, the attack from Pythia on the downhill that ended up sticking and winning after he'd already been dropped on the volcano climb. Spoilers. Mm-hmm. Spoilers, but you know, there was a lot of interesting things that happened today, and this is another one. This is a situation where I am a little bit stunned that they're within 28 seconds right now. And this goes to show you, never give up, because Muller and SA Girl are in this race. On this climb, 30 seconds, if these riders are fading, this is nothing. And they will be coming, they will most likely be coming right back into the fold, actually, here. So be watching out for them. I don't think that this is over at this point between the women at the front end of this race. Weber here, 5.3 watts per kilogram now, trying to hang on. Mulder, 3.6, 3.8 here, but I am thinking that maybe Weber and Conradi here maybe threw down just a little too much the first time up on the top, and Mulder and SA Girl here might be coming back pretty quickly for a contention for the win for that national championship jersey for South Africa here. So back in with the men. We'll jump back to the women before the finish. We're going to definitely be catching their racing up over the top here, but we are seeing, it looks like Creel, A Creel here, actually, excuse me. We're looking for the front end of the race, but A Creel here chatting away a little bit now, making his way up on the top. 137 beats per minute. Villers here battling it out with Van Coley, it looks like. But the front end of the race here is with Zaza Meaton, and it looks like Reese Piper now up toward the front. It does look like Reese does have a little bit of a fan club out there as well. Lizette Parkin coming in through David Stroh giving us a wave, and then Quinton making fun of Johnny with the mannequin challenge that he was doing. What did happen there, Johnny? Was there just a scene swap or something, or frozen? I mean, did you disconnect from the channel there for a second, or did you need to just take a break and was like, I'll just have a placeholder with an image of Johnny here for a second?
I had to just nip just to kind of sort something out. Just like to the side, I didn't want it for bother being off camera. I'll just quickly just freeze it for a second, like a minute or so. I don't know how long I was down, how long you realised for. But yeah, no, we got it sorted out. Need to have a finger away to sort that out for next time.
That's absolutely great. So maybe Nathan won't notice. Maybe Nathan won't notice that I'm totally frozen here. Nobody will know that this even happened. So everybody trying to trick everybody on the frozen Johnny here. So Barnes here now, it looks like they're already over up at the top of the climb now. 2.4 watts per gram. Piper there. Zazo now up in the 5.2 watts per kilogram. It's been, we were predicting that this race would be faster. We were predicting, or at least more dynamic. But these guys are definitely just watching each other out here today, keeping it really calm in the South African race, actually, because I think they are waiting for the most opportune moment. They definitely have not been throwing down everything they got on the day here, I believe. I think they're waiting for, they're playing a smart race out here today is what's going on. Does make it for a little less dynamic racing, that's for sure. Barnes been the only one that's really been willing to throw down any kind of serious power so far from what I've seen. Piper did have a little bit of attack over the top, or through about halfway through the climb out there, but wasn't able to make anything stick and said, nope, this ain't going anywhere. We're just going to keep it calm. I think it's all going to be about the last lap out here for the men's race. And it is still, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or so riders on the front end of this race. We'll have to see if we do have any of these provisional results on the broadcast here. I don't believe that those are set up at this point, though, so we'll have to wait for a little while. Creel is actually in there, which is interesting from the earlier results. I don't know why Jeffrey's in there. That's interesting. But Creel, 2.4 watts per kilogram, now 2.2 at the front. When you're sitting at 2.2 during a race like this, 127, 126 beats per minute, it's full-on hand-holding time at this point. Everybody's keeping it super calm. This is the calm before the storm, that's for sure. And just sub an animated gift, Shane Miller is saying. Actually, that would be great if we had some sort of a Johnny gift when he has to walk away from the camera for just a moment. The Johnny gift would be absolutely awesome. We are seeing Go Mara coming in from Francis Rude there as well. Good to see Francis Rude jumping in. And it's new breakaway trick, freeze and go, coming in from Anthony Porsche as well. So if you want to interact with broadcast, any questions or comments, let us know. These riders are doing 3 laps for the men, 2 laps for the women. So the women are going to be jumping into their final climb up from the top here in just a moment. It does look like only 3 seconds. The catch looks like it's going to be made. And, okay, this is not...
A group of 4 at the front again.
Yeah, this is not a situation, Johnny, where they have waited, I don't believe. I think they put so much into that initial break that they don't have the energy to keep them away any longer.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like we just don't see this sort of like behavior in races usually. So I wonder why something like these races have the double draft effect enabled. So I wonder if that's got anything to do with it, where like 2 riders working together, if they really push the power together, then they can get more speed on the other 2 that aren't. So maybe that has something to do with it, because we don't usually see these chases, these chases to a breakaway group that often on Zwift.
I was wondering about that earlier today. So I was chatting a little bit about how the draft in Zwift a lot of times does not lend to a whole lot of recovery as much as it does in real life. But with double draft being activated, it does make it a little bit more like in real life, where you can sit in at about half or a little more than half the power output of the rider who is in front of you pulling. So with that being in there, it does increase the tactics a little bit here, and double draft is activated. Now up in the 5.6 watts per kilogram, actually, they see that the riders are about to make the catch, and it looks like they said, no, need to keep them away at this point. Up the final climb, 5.2 watts per kilogram. I have a feeling one of these riders has been waiting to throw down the big watts as they are making their way up and over the top of the climb, or at least starting their climb here in just a moment. Does look like Gabriel is hanging on at this point. Angela, it looks like Conradi here as well, given a little bit of a dig just to hang on. We'll have to wait and see how this is going to play out between these two riders here. And I believe Angela is 181 beats per minute is the highest that we've seen in any of the rides that are in Zwift Power, but she's already up in the 187s here, so that's definitely not the best that she can possibly do. Weber not letting her go anywhere, so we definitely have a race on our hands. Back up to 10 seconds. They're just waiting for the climb, I think. Johnny looking at each other, keeping it calm. It's going to be about the power-ups, though.
Definitely, yeah, and I think it will be. I just want to just highlight something. ZA Girl, I don't know if you've got, if you can drop back down to ZA Girl, Nathan. Look at that kit she's wearing. She's actually graduated from the Zwift Academy 2018. It must be one of the first graduates as well. The full already. The hat, the gloves, the socks, the jersey, the bike. Just like got everything on there.
Full on pink kit going on here. This is one of the coolest actually setups I've ever seen. And it looks like she's been full on committed to completing the Zwift Academy 2018 already, so definitely a rider who does plenty of Zwifting here. A. Moeller hanging on to her wheel here, but definitely has the kit, the coolest kit. I'd have to say this is the coolest kit in game so far today. By far the coolest kit in game that we've seen so far, especially being that it is a kit that is the most recent earnable kit that you could get in game, and definitely one that people are going to be wanting to get after and unlock. So good to see ZA Girl here sporting the farming. She farmed up the kid pretty quick here, I would call it. It was just like in your usual MMO type situations. Definitely something to show off and wear with pride, that's for sure. Very cool to see. So as we're looking through here, awesome commentating. Well done. Thanks a lot there, Dave Vermacreel. Appreciate the comments there very much. How's the username with a percentage in it go on Zwift Power? I hope their input validation is solid there. Shea Miller is commenting through. I'm not exactly sure what he's down to there. We'll have to wait and see. Blasphemy coming from Quit in the Face is the coolest kit in game is vision. I don't know, man. I think, even with even if I was a part of a guild in like some sort of MMO somewhere, or in another game, the latest thing in the latest raid, in the latest earning, is almost always the coolest thing that you can possibly get. That's for sure. So, but we'll call it even. Maybe there, Quentin. But good to see you chatting away, and hopefully having a good time with the Vision squad, and keeping them in check to try and get Jeffrey that W here. Now, Conradi here with Weber now, as we can see, still off the front, as we are seeing Weber here 5.5 watts per kilogram or so from that rider. Conradi here 4.2 watts per kilogram. Johnny, we got a little bit of interference on your end, just so you know, coming on through on the mic there. But 4.5 watts per kilogram. Weber there 4.8 now, as she tries to hang on there. 186 beats per minute. They're about to make their way up and over the top of the climb, and it looks like Conradi here 4.4. Nobody able to really drop anybody off at this point. It's just really evenly matched. 17 seconds back to the other rider. I think they're comfortable with the gap that they have at this point. And for the women's race, this is for the national championship kit now. And looking through here, 187, 186, just really consistent. It's been Conradi on the front the entire time, and Weber just following, playing it smart, not really wanting to show her cards too much, it looks like here, waiting in the wheels to pounce here, it looks like. Perhaps. That's the question. Is she following and unable to come by, or is she waiting for the right moment to try and get away and take the W here? So I have a feeling maybe waiting up for the sprint, though. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to take a look real quick here over at some of the stats here. Between Weber and Conradi here, I am seeing up into about 5.6 watts per kilogram is the best that we've ever seen. But at the same time, for Conradi, Angela here, Amgen Tour California, back in May, stage 6 and 5, and that's all we have actually for past stats. For Weber, we've got a little bit more, 7.4 watts per kilogram for 15 seconds, but still only looks like 4 rides or races. So not a whole lot of information on either of the riders here actually. So it is kind of all under the radar at this point. Not a lot of predictions that we can make, so it's just going to have to be conjecture at this point. It's Conradi, 4.2 watts per kilogram up toward the front here, about to make that final little kick up into that 10% in just a moment here, as they've got one more round, I believe, around the volcano before they start make their way down toward the final sprint here. But Weber here sitting in the wheels again, 2.8 watts per kilogram. You know, with how tactical that this is, though, and the way that she's riding this, it does look like she's just following the wheel. It looks like she's just playing it smart, because there's definitely a intention here to just stay behind Conradi. Conradi slows down, and Weber right back to the wheel. You know, she's not allowing her watts per kilogram at any point to go over anything that would go past Conradi, but at the same time, she's able to respond to every single effort that she makes, which is telling me that this is just an intentional following, playing it smart, and sticking on the wheel. Now, in the men's race, we'll come back to the women's race, because things are starting to heat up a little bit in the men's race now. We are seeing a couple of attacks as they are leaving the underground here. Reese, we said, one of the favorites perhaps out here to take the W here, and Reese here kicks out of the Ocean Boulevard underground through that 3% gradient here, sitting on the front now. Now we're seeing Munton there as well. Now going right on by it will be Barnes, and it is a couple of attacks here that are trying to get away. And Barnes here getting a little bit of a gap, but not going much of anywhere. Steins there as well, meeting now Craig, Bluffs, and Creel. Creel now 5.2 watts per kilogram, following the wheels there. Piper there off the back a little bit after those attacks. That's usually what happens if you do attack out of the Ocean Boulevard underground in that 3% gradient uphill, and usually somebody gets off the front at this point, but is brought right back in through the S-turns through this flat section. Usually somebody cannot stick this section long enough or with enough distance to hold on to the gap, mainly because through this flat section, everybody who did follow the attack out of the underground does group up, form a group, and it didn't hurt them enough on that little 3% gradient for 30 seconds to make it so that they can't make an easy chase. But Munton here with the count at 8.4 watts per kilogram. As you can see, 187 beats per minute. Creel trying to follow, it looks like here. Gets right on that wheel and then backs off to 3 watts per kilogram. Zaza's there as well. Maybe not going to chase too much, though. It does look like a 1 second gap. Now, here's the thing. If there's 1 or 2 off the front, that's one thing. If you get 3 or 4, it could be curtains at this point, though. So Zaza following it up very quickly. Does see Creel as a threat. Looks like people are starting to follow a lot more now, and the attacks are starting. People are starting to get a little bit antsy here. Those who do not want to be a sprint finish are starting to try and make the kicks to try and get away. Stein able to follow up there. It looks like it is still 9 riders at the front of the South African National Championships. Johnny.
Yeah, no, it is 9 riders there, and I think they'll kind of keep pushing each other, putting those digs in to kind of separate the group a bit more. Just to bring back to the women, Nathan, the women, G. Weber and Conradi, have now actually peaked over the summit of the volcano, gone around the crater, and they're now starting the descent. So those 2 riders still together, and they've put that gap out to almost a minute with those 2 riders who got them on the climb. So maybe the 2 riders had a bit more kind of flat speed, and that's why they caught up to them to the climb, but then not so much on the climb itself. So I think we're going to see judging by these 2 sitting nicely together, having to see a head-to-head sprint between these two riders down on Ocean Boulevard.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this end up plays out between the riders here, because you're right there as far as these two have been evenly matched up to this point, and it's interesting to see how this is playing out. There's a lot of timid riding here, it looks like, from Weber so far. You know, it seems to me, that's my prediction, is that Weber's been following and following and following. Now, the question is whether or not Weber has just been hanging on for dear life, or if there's a lot more in the engine than what's being shown off here. And I think we're going to find out in the last K or so here. My prediction is that Weber has just been sitting in and waiting for the moment to pounce here, and is going to be looking for that W momentarily. That's going to be my prediction on the day. Weber taking the W, but we'll have to see if I'm correct. And that's mainly just from watching the way that she is riding her tactics here, the way that she's been sitting in and responding to everything that Conradi has been doing. It looks like it's very smart tactics to not waste any energy. While Angela there, Conradi has definitely been trying to break Gabrielle there, it looks like, through each and every one of the crucial points out on the course here, but it doesn't look like she's been able to do so, and Weber's able to follow every single one of those attacks there. LaFrance Swifter, good to see you, says, hi all, how's it going? Good to see you there, LaFrance Swifter, over at so Johnny, where's the relay coming through? Is that from Twitch to Mixer? Is that what we're looking at there?
So that, yeah, the French Zwift was out on Twitch. So yeah, so that was coming from Twitch to Mixer.
Thanks. Just wondering if it was over on YouTube or not as well. So good to know. But good to see you, LaFrance Swifter, hanging out. Combat 18 Jim, good to see you there, saying awesome broadcast, guys. Inferno 4001 saying, time to get my new bike ready so I can keep my current bike on the trainer. Catch you guys on Zwift. Well, catch me first. Keep Zwifting. Good to see you there, Inferno. Make second say good stuff and broadcast, guys. Right on to you as well. Thanks a lot for tuning in over on the streaming platforms. So wondering what we're talking about. If you're over on Facebook, we do broadcast on all streaming platforms that we possibly can, and you can also always find all of our videos on demand over on YouTube. So if you do miss the broadcast, you can find them over on YouTube, or you can watch them in the saved broadcast either on Mixer or on Twitch, or rewatch the broadcast on Facebook as well. But being a social media platform more than a streaming platform, a lot of times you do not get notifications always every time that we do go live. It is a little bit more of an algorithm whether or not you see every time that we go live, or if somebody shares it with you directly. So what you want to do is you want to go hit that follow button over at a streaming platform that we're live on, your favorite one, whichever one that you want to, and say notifications on, to be able to see anytime that we do go live on Zwift Community Live or on Zwift's channel. So make sure to go ahead and hit that follow button over at those places. This is a hectic way to end a Sunday. Good to see you there, Brandon. It definitely is. We're going to see how things are going to end up for the women here. G. Weber now hanging into the wheels still. Looks like there's going to be about 3 or 4K left to go for the women. Let's go ahead and head on over to the men's race real quickly. We will definitely catch the finish for the women's race, but for the men right now, they are about to head back into the volcano in just a moment here. Just want to take a quick little look and call out who is there for the final climb. It is Reese Piper right along with A. Stein. Austin Stein is in there. We do see M. Craig. Now, Craig, this is a rider that we haven't chatted about at all. Johnny, if we could get some stats on this rider, I'd be really interested to see who this Exert rider is, as I have not seen this rider out there before, and at 148 beats per minute riding with Exert, it tells me he's a numbers guy. Tells me he's a serious cyclist, that somebody who really cares about his numbers, really cares about his training. So let's go ahead and hear a little bit about who this rider is. Looks like you've got the stats already pulled up there pretty quick with those.
Yeah, so we've got Murray Craib on here from South Africa, 42 years of age. Current race average power has been 288 watts up the volcano climb. Time of 6 minutes 50, so a great time there as well. And sprint time a bit slower than some of the riders of 29 seconds. But if we pull up his information, it's just some power performance as well. We see he's got a quite light rider of, lightest rider of 78 kilos, 618 watts for that 1 minute power, down to 344 watts for that 20-minute power. So some great numbers there, and some of them quite, especially the sprints there, get a little bit higher, that 1 minute sprint, than some of the riders of similar weight as well. So if he sticks with the bunch, he's someone we'll be watching as we swing left underneath that rock tunnel down to the finish line as well.
Yeah, Murray Crabe, maybe we're watching out for him. We'll have to wait and see. He did take a win. It looks like back in the SIS Tour de Oz, actually, in stage 4. That's the last win that he's had out on Zwift. That's a solid race to be winning in, actually, so be watching out for him. Barnes here, though, with another attack, as we can see, as Crabe is following to follow that up. It looks like Zaza is going with it as well. Crabe going right on by there. Barnes, Munton here off the back just a little bit. People putting in a little bit of spot of bother here. Creel there following it up. 160 beats per minute. Talking about racers who have a lot of experience, though, Jeffrey Creel, definitely plenty of experience. He has been a part of just about every single racing series that has happened out on Zwift. Also has been one of the riders who's had an invite to the CVR World Cups. He was in London as a part of the London event, actually, was able to meet Jeffrey there. So, this is a rider who knows how to win races out on Zwift. Definitely one of the favorites, I think, on the day. But I'd be watching out. I think at this point, everybody who's made this lead group at this point is a threat. There's only about 7 or 8 of them at this point. Let's go ahead and make sure we've got the numbers here right. But I believe it is, 7 riders that have made, 9 riders, that have made this front group. And to hang on this long through this, I think, means every single one of them most likely a threat. But I have a feeling once we hit that 10% at the top, we're going to see who really has the efforts all the way to the line.
Yeah, and Nathan, speaking of threats, G. Weber in the women's has just laid down some big wattage in the sprint in the women's race on Conradi. So she's going for an early sprint just coming out of that rock tunnel.
Yeah, it does look like about 9 watts per kilogram or so. This is a very, very early attack here. And Conradi here with a solid response there, as you can see. 10 watts per kilogram, but it's already out to 4 seconds there. If there's no aero power-up, I'm not sure it's going to be able to happen, as she's got a solid gap here. But it does look like Conradi does have orange numbers here, but I think it looks like she was able to catch Conradi completely off guard. Will she be able to hold on to this gap, though? That's going to be the question. 2 seconds is the difference. It's only 2 seconds. It looks like it maybe Weber all the way to the line. Conradi trying to close it down here. It's coming right down to the last couple of meters, but it will be Weber. Weber was able to hold off with that attack. What an amazing effort there from Weber. We said it early on. Looked like she may have been waiting and waiting for that, waiting for that final moment to attack. And she went from way out there, Johnny.
Yeah, and it looks like S. Muller has just pipped, SA Girls just pipped A. Muller to the line as well in the second sprint for 3rd and 4th place as well. But she took it right to the line there. Really early sprint then as well. She came right around that corner and she basically went down Weber, put down that power, went into the orange numbers right away and held that on that descent, that kind of 200 meters down the descent. And then once she had that gap, she managed to maintain that for the rest of the line.
It's a risky move. It's a really risky move, actually, to go from that.
If someone's got an aero power up, then they can pop it, and then they've got it back.
Yeah, and I think Weber got a little bit lucky, actually, there, that Angela did not have an aero power up. If Angela would have had an aero power up there, that might have been curtains for the attack there and the gap that she had opened up there. So it was a risky move, but was able to hold off by only 1 second to the line. There must have been given everything that she had to be able to pull off that result there. But for the day here, it does look like it will be Weber as a provisional result for the W there, followed up by Angela Conradi, and then it will be South African girl, 100% South African girl, who will be taking up 3rd place for the podium. And those are provisional results. We'll have to wait for the official results from Zwift down the line once everybody gets checked out through the verification processes. But it will be Munton here making his way to the front. This is the final time up on the climb, and this is when we are going to see, I think, all the fireworks are going to be starting up here, as Munton has 5.9 watts per kilogram, 191 beats per minute. Reese Piper here following up, 4.8 watts per kilogram, 167 beats per minute. Meeting there, Creel there as well. Now Creel following, and that's what he's been doing all day long, waiting for the moment to pounce. I think he wants a sprint. usually Creel is looking for the sprint. He knows how to use the aero power up at the right time, in the right way, looking for that national championship jersey here. Now, Craig here from Exert, they're following things up at 170 beats per minute. Zaza there as well, 174. And it looks like Stein, and it will be, that's about it in the pack here, but it will be Barnes up toward the front now, leading things out. Only about a quarter way, not even up and over the top at this point. It does level out in about a K, a little under a K or so from this point. So we're going to see who can make that initial half a climb and sit in. But Meaton here on the back here, 180 beats per minute. This might be a moment of truth for this rider. He finds himself at the back there at 180 beats per minute. Jay Meaton, 5.1 watts per kilogram. Let's go ahead and take a quick little look at the stats here for Jason Meaton. We are seeing that he does not have actually information over at zwiftpower.com. The requested profile cannot be shown, so it'd be interesting to see if it's not open though. But he is falling off the back here. It looks a little bit at this point. But Jay Meaton, I have a feeling perhaps did not connect with zwiftpower.com. Perhaps, Johnny, are you having the same error message as I am?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I have a feeling that that might have something to do with the third-party connection. Now, if you do want to race out on Zwift, specifically in these higher profile races where verification is required, you do need to register with ZwiftPower.com. Make sure to read all the rules for any races that you do enter for any of the events. A lot of times riders will join an event and not take a look at the description of the races. Just like any time that you show up to an in real life race, you sign the waiver, you read the rules, and you see exactly how the sign up process goes. You pay your fee and all that kind of stuff, and then you walk away with your number. You better know everything that it says in there in order to get a result. And so same thing with anytime you do a Zwift event. When you do sign up for a Zwift event, make sure that you are checking. The best way to do that is to sign up for events on the Zwift Companion app. That's how I sign up for all of my events, is through the Zwift Companion app. If you haven't done that, then you can head on over to Zwift.com/events, find your event, and read through the rules over there, as they are not in the computer application many times for the descriptions when you do sign up in when you do so through the app on a computer or on a Mac or a PC. So looking forward here, though, we do see Bluff Bros here up in the 7.2 watts, become 176 beats per minute. Piper, they're following it up, 5.9. Munton now 5.8, still all together, but haven't seen those orange numbers quite yet. We haven't seen any serious attacks. It's actually just a steady high effort at this point. But at that 190 beats per minute, I think riders are starting to suffer a little bit. Only 166 from Creel, though, following things very calmly. P Bluff here now 5.1 now up toward the front. But because of the way that they're riding, it looks to me like everybody's kind of just testing the legs. We aren't seeing anything consistent into that 6 watts per kilogram. It's still not full-on attacks at this point. They're waiting for the right moment. They're about halfway up on the top here. I think when we hit that 3/4 point, though, that's when we're going to see the serious attacks here, Johnny. And any predictions here, Johnny? What are you thinking here? Looking at the riders, what we've seen so far, who can throw down wattages when, what riders have been up to here. What do you think is going to be the W for the day?
I think Barnes. I think James Barnes could be someone we need to look out for. Like Jay, I want to go. My heart says I want to go with Jeffrey because of he's a great rider. Used to be on team with him and met him a couple of times as well. But James Barnes showing up and putting in quite a standout performance, I kind of think he might have a bit of a chance here.
Up in that 161 beats per minute. Does look like he's got plenty to work with here. Creel and him both in about a similar heart rate at this point. I think that's a really good prediction there coming in on Barnes or Creel. I would still be watching for Reese Piper, though. I think he, even though the heart rate's fairly high at this point, there might be the motivation, the youth in there as well. Maybe just the kick to outwork the other riders in a sprint here. Maybe not quite as savvy, though, out on Zwift. We'll have to wait and see. But, we've seen him in those 100-kilometer races. It looks like he's been training like a madman out on Zwift. So maybe I shouldn't speak too soon as far as experience goes, because there isn't much more experience that you can get than racing the KISS 100, races out on Zwift here. 5.9 watts per kilogram, it looks like, for a moment there, leading things out still with the old guard. The new guard coming in here, it looks like, with Reese Piper with Creer right on his wheel. It is Creel there, meeting. Great. Then it will be Barnes, 7.8, 7.1 watts per kilogram. This looks like a full-on attack, actually. About to make the way up over the top of the final loop around the volcano at this point. Looking down, riders definitely starting to get a little bit antsy. This is that final little 10% grade. Here comes a feather power up, though, actually, it looks like, from one of the riders. Now the power ups are starting to be low. And actually, who has got the feather power up? Is that Bluff Bros, I believe, with the feather power up? No, it is actually going to be, not even sure who it is that was throwing that power up, but we'll have to wait and see if they get an arrow power. But it is Barnes, though, 11 watts per kilogram, trying to get away, not waiting for the final sprint, actually just wants to get away and stay away. Maybe watched the New Zealand race earlier today where this is how it was won, was on this downhill. Bluff Bros trying to go right along with it. Looks like 184 beats from it. This is a rider that we not call out at all, actually. A dark horse for sure with P Bluff Bros. Now it is going to be Piper here trying to follow things up as well. 3 seconds is the difference here. I'm not sure it's going to be coming back. Barnes got 5.4 watts per kilogram. Maybe just playing smart, though. Creel sitting in the wheel and trusting that the other riders are going to bring it right on back. Reese Piper being in there as well. I think they're all going to start looking at each other a little bit. 5 seconds is the difference, though. And on this kind of a downhill with a group, with that double drop, I think it's going to be brought back together. But there's 2 off the front. And if they work together correctly, maybe they can hold on to this gap. But Crabe here from Exert, bring it up in the 61 kilometers per hour. 63, though, from the front runners. Speed's what matters, not power. 60 kilometers per hour. 62 kilometers per hour. Those riders just dangling out there. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get away. But Zaza's off the back, 2 seconds back. He's going to have to kick a couple times to get back on terms. Looks like he's going to be able to do so. And it's still going to be 8 riders with Stein 3 seconds back. His race is on the line right now. Austin has to bring this back. And Barnes here saying, go, go, go. We have to win now. No looking at each other. Do not mess around. We've already put the effort in. We can't just sit here. He's letting him know this is not how we win the race. We can't just sit here. You've got to do some work. I'm surprised we don't see the elbows coming out. For those that don't know, you can actually say, come on through, your turn. And Bluff Bros just sitting in. Bluff and Barnes is what's happening. This and Barnes is like, come on, do some work here, buddy, because we're going to lose the race. We can't just sit at 4 watts per kilogram on the front. Somebody's got to do something. It's got to be an all-in effort at this point. And these guys, they sit at 2 watts per kilogram. Watching these guys dangle out there at 4 watts per kilogram, it's just going to be a waste of energy. And we might see Barnes throwing the towel if we don't see anybody else give a little bit of a kick at this point.
Yeah, and these guys in the gap, I think needs to be like, up to maybe like 15 seconds, maybe more than that before we can actually stick, because we've still got that little bit of a climb inside the volcano before they actually get to that final stretch. So that's something that and they've caught, that's the group caught now. Wasn't enough. It was a great chase by those guys there. So yeah, I think we might see, maybe a good chance now for someone to put in a counter, Nathan. What do you think?
We'll have to wait and see if there is a counter on the downhill. It is a very difficult thing to do, but maybe on this little bit of a incline right here, we might see somebody counter, but it's a long ways out still to make that happen. 4 to 5K to go. Barnes going again, 12 watts per kilogram, 800 watts, up in that 118 RPM. We'll see if he can hold on to this. Crabe here, following it up there at 6.3 watts per kilogram, up and out of the saddle, 55 kilometers per hour. He does gain an immediate 2 seconds here. We'll see if he can hold on to this kind of an effort, though. Crabe here trying to follow it up there as we are seeing Bluff Bros there. Creel's there as well. Stein able to hang on. He was able to get back on terms with the riders. Reese Piper just sitting in, letting everybody know that he's there still at 6 watts per kilogram, but then dropping right down to 1.0. He's playing it super smart at this point. Meeting there as well. Munton just sitting in. They're looking for that sprint effort. They know this isn't going anywhere. Barnes trying to hold on to 4.3, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to make this happen as the other riders are just watching him use that effort off the front. But it was one earlier just like this. We'll have to wait and see if he can hold on to it, though. It did go out very quickly to 15, then 20 seconds, and there were riders sitting in, not chasing the attack off the front, with a lot less riders in the group, though. So I think Barnes has his work cut out from a little bit more than we saw earlier in some of the other national championship races. With only 3 seconds, Mutton there chasing things down pretty quickly. I'm not sure it's going much of anywhere. Again, we see another kick here, maybe a little frustration, final frustration here coming from Barnes as he gets brought right back in. And I think the writing's on the wall. We've got a sprint finish between 9 riders on the South African National Championships final. UK here. Is anybody else going to give a kick here? Let's hear predictions coming in from the chat here. We've got Monique Van Wyck saying Barnes with a bunch of guns showing off there. Good to see. We're seeing Awesome Stein coming from Kyle Augustine. See if there's anybody else cheering through here. Stein coming from Calvin Liu there as well. We're seeing Cameron Roberts saying vision all the way for Creel. Barnes won't disappoint. Another one saying there as well. Shane Miller just saying bam. Sounds like Bam Bam's going to win, but I don't think we're watching Flintstones out here. Barnes now 3.3 watts per kilogram. Now Creel there sitting in at 4.8. P. Bluff there in there as well. Doesn't look like anybody's going to be given a go. Just everybody watching each other now at this point, waiting for the attack. Now the question is, when is it going to happen? Because it's going to happen. When is it going to happen? We saw somebody go from about a K out for an all-out effort actually before the turn. If you don't think you've got the kick for a sprint, that is a good place to go. If you can get enough of a gap, you do waste some efforts of the other riders. And if you are trying to set up for another sprinter that's on your team who can just follow or try and get away, it is a great team tactic. And we don't have too many riders who are on teams with each other at this point in the race. We'll have to wait and see. I think Innovation might have one under the radars. We do have Zaza in there, as well as I believe one other from Innovation. Stein, I believe, may be working with Zaza. We'll have to wait and see. But if they do send one off the front from way early, it does cause the other riders who are not on the team to have to burn matches and go, while the other team rider can just follow the wheels and then make that final attack, or the initial attack just sticks. So we'll have to wait and see how that ends up playing out here. And let's look through here. A couple more coming on through. Cameron Roberts saying, actually, no, Shane Miller saying Creel for the win. And Do It Jeff coming from Dave Irma Creel. Cameron Roberts saying Miller knows best. Creel, let's go from Anthony Porsche. 1.2K out in the Australian champs. Shane Miller's letting us know. Let's go, Jeffrey. Up, 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 up. Coming from Quinton there. Didn't stick it, but made them honest, Shane was saying. That's right. They did make him honest. And we'll have to wait and see if it's going to happen. Creel's RPM is coming up. We're here and here. So we'll have to wait and see how things are going to go. Craig here, 179 beats per minute. This is where somebody went from way out in the Australian Championship. We'll see if it's going to happen again. Crape here, 3.2 watts per kilogram. Now it looks like everybody's keeping it pretty chill, but here we go. 10 watts per kilogram. It's going to be Munton with an arrow power up from way out. He's going to have to hold on to a huge gap for a long time here. Creel following it. Oh no, this might put him into a spot above it, but it's Barnes up in the 14 watts per kilogram. Creel 12 watts per kilogram continues on, as you can see here. Barnes 14.5 watts per kilogram with an arrow power up. I don't think he's going to be caught though. 1,000 watts all day long here. That's going to raise some eyebrows, that's for sure here. But Creel's holding on. He's got the arrow power up. He's got 2 seconds over the rest of the riders here. He might be able to catch Barnes, even though he's got crazy wattages here. It's Creel versus Barnes all the way to the line. It looks like Barnes is going to be able to hold off here at some huge power, but I think Creel's going to be coming across the line in second place. It looks like with a 4-second gap, it will be Barnes with provisional results. Creel trying to hold on. He's got to continue on, though. They're closing the gap very quickly for that second place, but it will be Creel, followed up, it looks like, by Reese Piper there across the line. What an amazing effort all across the riders there in this men's race. Absolutely killing it. Jeffrey Creel did his absolute best, but Barnes had a little bit too much watt. 1,000 watts there for quite a long time. I think we're going to have a lot of eyebrows raised there with that many watts for that amount of time, though. So we'll have to wait and see for the officials that they come on through. But what an amazing kick there coming on through all day long. Shane Miller is saying huge sprint to the line. Barnesy is able to take it down, it looks like, for the provisional results. Johnny.
Yeah, no, that was a crazy effort. Like that's that early sprint just puts the pressure on everyone. You're either gonna have to like win it, or it's a it's a win. It's on silly, but it's a win or lose moment. Like you're either gonna get it and it's gonna stick, or and you put the pressure on everyone else, get them to use their power ups, or like it's gone. So that was something that we haven't seen like a sprint that early for sometime. I think like Kim Little in the UK Nationals back in February did one similar to that a bit later on, like when he was just around the corner. But like that was like he wasn't even round the corner before he put that in. So he had a good like another maybe 200 meters onto a normal sprint.
Yeah, that was very, very early there for Munton, I believe it was, but was not able to make it stick there, it looks like. But this is the final sprint that we were seeing earlier coming on through here. This was Jay Barnes up in that 10 watts per kilogram. His final kick to the line, his aero power up just fading there, able to come across the line. Then it was going to be Creel, followed up very quickly there by, it looks like Reese was just able to hang on for the line, followed up by Bluff Bros, though. So solid result there from all of those riders there in the replay. So solid effort all around from the men there out on course there. So we also did have Weber, as we saw earlier. She was just able to hang on with an attack from way out as well. As we did see in the women's race, Gabrielle Weber taking down in the provisional results for the women's race. It is also followed up very closely there by Angela Conradi, not able quite to pull off the close on the gap there. Almost there, only a 1 second difference at the lines that came through the Zwift National Championships finish line there. But that is going to be a provisional result for the South African race out there today. Solid result all around. We are seeing Reese Piper cooling down from the men's race there, but solid job between the men's and the women's races out there today for the podium. Amazing races. So looking through here, and it looks like a lot of chat coming on through. And James Joseph Barnes lets us know track cycling, just saying, and it's all good. The Zwift Power and Zada long in conjunction with Zwift will take care of all verification, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. If the numbers are real, they're real, so you can trust the verification process. I think anybody who does have raised eyebrows will just get a contact and be like, hey, let's see it, and then if you can show it, it's good to go. And so let's look through here. A few more of the don't need justifications, all good, you guys. It's all handed in the background. So looking through here, though, a few more of the chat coming on through. Let's make sure we catch everybody as they're coming on through. As Dafford Williams, as well as Zwift chatting away a little bit there. Good to see Zwift hanging out in the broadcast, giving a little bit of encouragement as well. And we are seeing Cameron Robertson here with a little bit of chat. We'll have to wait for official stuff there, Cameron Robertson. We'll wait for the official results. They come up later, guys. So we'll chat official results. Probably weekly windup sometime next week, maybe the week after. We'll give Zwift and Zwift Power the time to figure out what the official results would be there. Johnny, I would assume. Got any timelines on that from Zwift HQ?
Yeah, so like we've got the race results that are coming from Zwift Power, and we've got the in-game results we can see as well. So like the decision we made looking at all the factors and all the information. Including the broadcast as well gets used there just to kind of help verify any final results. So, what's shown on Zwift Power now, it might not, it's all provisional results. The official result will be when it is announced officially by Zwift on our Zwift channels, which you can expect to see this week. Just stick around to that. We can ask, we can always ask questions and make comments and chat and say what our opinions are. They're valid. It's good to have a conversation. But I think before anything gets announced, we should wait until decisions are made between Zwift and Zwift Power, who are working together to get these results out.
Yeah, and just to be crystal clear, just so everybody knows, as far as like the requirements and all that stuff goes for the national championship specifically here, an attached account with ZwiftPower.com through the my.zwift.com And then as well as an attachment of your racing license for your governing body for your country that you are riding for in the national championships. And then obviously some verification if you do break the barriers for the ZADA approval verifications, as if you go into pro or beyond pro numbers. So that's the only reason eyebrows are raised, but those things are reality. I had to get ZADA verification. I was a professional athlete, plenty of elite athletes, professional athletes, Cat 1s, Cat 2s that do break those barriers and just submit some files. It looks like there's a little chattel going on in there. So James is just looking for verification. He's one of those guys. Try and take those things to the back channel so we don't cause too much mayhem, guys. Because everybody likes to find a witch to burn. So let's go. All right, Johnny, that was some great broadcasts today. 3 national championships. We're going to have 6 new national champions coming up in a couple of weeks here. So pretty excited about that. I think it was a huge success.
No, it was. Yeah, no, it's great. Great racing for everyone, and great for everyone to come out, to watch it. And thanks everyone also for coming out to, thanks to those of racing, but also those who came and watched the broadcast. There's some people who are in chat here who I know on the same time zone as me, and they're not working. They're actually there who watched all 3 races early in the morning, late at night, and stuck around. James Hodges being one of those. So thanks to everyone for coming out. I hope you've enjoyed what we've brought to you, and continue to support racing out on Zwift.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Johnny. I appreciate all the background work on the broadcast for sure. A lot of this, you guys, big shout out to Johnny, everybody. A lot of this background production that you're seeing, all this is done by Mr. Jonathan Nobbett over there in the Edinburgh broadcast studio. So Johnny, shout out to you. Thanks a lot for all of the hard work. And so we're gonna let's see. I think that's gonna be it for us then today. And Johnny, we're gonna see next up on Zwift broadcasting will be next week with the weekly windup, I believe, as well as some Zwift Academy races. So if you guys want to see some of that, make sure to jump on over to that follow button on any of our streaming platforms. Thanks a lot to all of the viewers out there, as well as great job to all of the riders. And as always, a big old ride on.